How you going, guys and girls? Welcome to the channel. As the title suggests, we are going to be pulling one of these off. Top of the morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the project that we're going to be working on today, the HQ sedan. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be removing this cowl panel. So the outer panel right here, which sits below your windscreen, again goes along the front edge of the firewall and up into the dash. So we're going to be removing this one. Now before you ask why, it has got a little bit of rust. Don't get me wrong, this is a really good panel. This is definitely a really good example of a good clean cowl panel for this model. But we've come to an agreement and we're going to remove this panel and we're going to get all inside blasted and we're going to repaint inside here, same with the back side of the cowl panel itself. And we're going to have all of that internally coated and then we're going to put this cowl panel back on. So we're going to be saving this one. We're not going to be replacing it with a aftermarket cowl panel. And yeah, that's just what this week's video is going to be about, and yeah, we'll get to it.
It helps the speaker lead his audience into the scene he describes by creating an imaginary picture. Usually it's something that moves.
Alright, so I've just gone along with the wire wheel and I've found all my spot welds. So obviously you've got them down along through here, underneath where the door sort of covers, along the front edge here of the firewall, some down through here with where the window sits, some across here, across the dash frame, and then there's a few MIG welds that run along the pillars through here, so they'll just get cut. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So like I said, I just went over them with a wire wheel on a drill just to sort of uncover where all the spot welds are. They're all pretty noticeable apart from the ones that sort of run through here. I'll probably end up marking these with a texter. And then what I'll do later is I'll go through with a little hole punch and I'll just make a little, like a center punch, and I'll just divot a little hole in there. So my 1/8 drill bit, so I'll grab one of these fellas and I'll just drill a little bit of a pilot just in each little spot weld before I then step it up to a slightly larger drill bit, depending on the size of the spot weld, because obviously some of these are pretty small, whereas some of the ones sort of through here, like that one just there, if you can see it, it's a little bit bigger. Like I said, really depends on the size of the spot weld, what size drill bit I'll end up using in certain areas, but yeah, always like to start off with a 1/8 drill bit, so yeah, I find these really handy to sort of stop not drilling in the wrong spot or in the right spot, either. Yeah, it's just a little handy little tip that I've sort of picked up on over the years. But anyway, we'll get stuck into it. Alright, so I've just finished all the drilling here, or all the drilling I think I need to do anyway. Some of this has already started to separate, so that's really good. I'm quite happy about that. That shouldn't need too much more work through here. I noticed a few of them were popping as I was drilling them. So yeah, that's really good. That's sort of what you're after. I ended up going to a little bit of a larger drill bit just through here, just after I was sort of done with it all, just because that is a really hard area to unpick, in my opinion, just because there's not a whole lot of access either side of it to really unpick it and separate it nicely. So rather than sort of damage the cow panel trying to separate it with the spot weld split or anything like that, I'd rather step up to a slightly bigger drill bit just to really break that edge just around the spot weld. At the end of the day, I'm just going to be MIGging, like plug welding this back on with the MIG, so a slightly larger hole isn't the end of the world. I'm not going to lose my head over it, so yeah, like I said, I'd rather just step it up to a slightly larger drill bit, so yeah, I don't damage the panel through here. There is a few sort of drill throughs. Again, not going to get too worried about it, because once this panel's off, I'm sure I'll have a little bit of welding repairs to do anyway, so to put a little bit of copper behind them and fill them up with a bit of weld, linish it back, not a drama. But yeah, I've got to fire up the air compressor soon, because I couldn't quite get into these spots with the 5-inch grinder, but that's just not a drama. But yeah, anyway, I'm probably going to have a little bit of a break at the moment, because yeah, the sun's up, and I'm sure there's probably a little furry friend wanting to go for a walk. So yeah, that's a good excuse to have a bit of a break, have a coffee, and yeah, we'll come back to this one shortly. Alright, so the cow panel's all drilled off. Everything's been separated. There was a few spots where they'd sort of doubled up with their spot welds. These corners right here are usually a little bit harder to do, just because it's such a thin edge just on that, and yeah, usually gets a little bit messy. So I'll probably end up welding a few little patches just in the corners. I might end up probably doing a little strip in through here. But yeah, everything else is pretty well, pretty standard for removing one of these. And yeah, I'll throw you guys on the tripod, and we'll lift this off for the first time in 50 years. See what kind of nasties are sort of lurking below something that was as good as this. Again, this is the only rust hole from the exterior of the panel, so whatever's underneath will be totally new to me. I haven't looked under this or anything yet, so yeah, we'll get to it. All right, moment of truth, lifting this one off. Alright, so it's actually not looking too bad under here really. Obviously, yeah, there is some corrosion in these spots that would be otherwise inaccessible. There's dirt, leaves and all that sort of stuff, dust. This side's got a bit of rust just there, I reckon. It's just paint. This is actually a really good one so far, so I'm glad I've been able to take this cow panel off, and I'll be able to preserve this for a little bit longer, probably another 50 or 60 years. Yeah, there's just a little bit of rust just starting just there. A little bit of corrosion just there, a little bit in the corners, probably where it just wasn't quite sealed up with their seam sealer. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'll get all this sealer and stuff cleaned up, and I'll give you guys another look. Alright, so I've just given that a little bit of a clean back. I've zapped up all the little holes from where I'd sort of over drilled or what have you, but yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. This is probably definitely one of the better examples of the plenum and these lower halves of the window frames, or part of the pillar I should say. That's how they're meant to look. A lot of people do real ugly patches, and they'll make all of this one piece, and yeah, it's just a mess. But hey, do whatever you want with your cars. this is what I'm doing with this one. So yeah, I just thought I'd make a bit of a video about it. Might give someone a little bit of an insight on how to take one of these panels off and actually be able to save the top half. But yeah, anyway, that's that one done. Alright, so that's a wrap up for this one, guys. Hope you've learnt something about taking the plenum off a HQ to WB. Obviously this one's a HQ, so it's a little bit more specific if you're pulling one off of a HQ, but yeah, they're all pretty much the same. And yeah, if you like the channel, make sure that you subscribe and keep up to date with the builds that I've got going on. And yeah, hopefully not too far in the future we should be refitting the original one. So yeah, make sure to stick around for that one and keep an eye out. Cheers.